HOA labeled my backyard greenhouse an eyesore until it won an environmental award. Open the damn gate, Alex. We need to talk. Now. Alex wipes their hands on a rag, exhales sharply, and opens the gate to reveal Carter, flanked by two HOA board members, Mrs. Reynolds, a thin-lipped woman with permanent disappointment in her eyes, and Doug, a guy who looks like he still lives to impress his high school football coach. I didn't realize we scheduled a meeting. What's the emergency? This shit right here. Violation notices. Complaints. You're breaking HOA regulations left and right with this ugly-ass greenhouse. Alex eyes the papers, but doesn't take them. Instead, they glance at the greenhouse. It's sturdy, sleek, and brimming with life. Not the monstrous eyesore Carter is acting like it is. Funny. I read the bylaws before I built it. Nothing about greenhouses being against the rules. Oh, you think you're smart, huh? See, we have a clause about aesthetic harmony. And this glass shack isn't harmonious with our community. It's a goddamn blight. Mrs. Reynolds nods, her lips pursed so tight they could cut glass. Doug cracked his knuckles, trying to look tough. Oh no, not aesthetic harmony. The most sacred of suburban commandments. Watch it, you wise ass. This isn't a joke. Do you want to play games? Fine, but you're racking up fines starting now. He shoves the stack of notices into Alex's chest. Alex doesn't flinch, just looks down at them, then back up at Carter. You can't just make up rules because you don't like something. Want to bet? I've run this HOA for 15 years. You think you're the first pain in my ass who thought they could push back? Alex doesn't answer immediately. Instead, they fold their arms, standing their ground, a long, tense silence. This is your final warning. Tear it down, or we'll escalate this to legal action. See, that's where you messed up, Reynolds. Because I'm ready to escalate too. Carter's expression shifts. A flicker of uncertainty, brief, but noticeable. Yeah. To who? The city. Do you think they care? Newsflash, buddy. HOA regulations override city zoning laws in this neighborhood. And I will make your life hell until you comply. Alex finally takes the paperwork, flips through a few pages, and meets Carter's eyes. I hope you do, Carter. Because I promise you, this fight isn't going to end the way you think it will. Another tense beat. Carter clenches his jaw, his temper barely restrained. This thing will be gone in a week, or I'll fucking bury you in fines so deep you'll beg to tear it down. He turns on his heel, shoving the gate open so hard it bounces against the fence. Doug and Mrs. Reynolds follow, throwing one last disapproving glance at Alex. The gate slams shut behind them. Alex looks back at the greenhouse, running a hand over the cool glass. The fight has begun, and Carter has no idea just how much Alex is willing to win. Through the window, the greenhouse stands tall, sunlight catching its glass panels. It's beautiful, efficient, and, to Carter, a direct act of war. Cut to the driveway. Alex, coffee in hand, heads to their car, only to see Carter standing by the mailbox, talking to two elderly neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Kowalski. It's a real shame. We used to have such a pristine neighborhood. Now, feels like anyone can just throw up whatever junk they want. Mr. Kowalski shifts uncomfortably. He's old school but fair. His wife, however, nods, glaring at Alex like they just pissed on her hydrangeas. That greenhouse is ruining the whole street. Property values are going to tank. Yeah, all the buyers must be fleeing in terror. There's a real panic over some tomatoes. Carter turns, that smug grin already in place. Oh, Alex. Didn't see you there. Alex steps closer, lowering their voice just enough to make it clear this isn't a game. Do you think your little smear campaign is going to scare me? I don't need to scare you. Just letting the community know how their investment is being affected. Alex steps forward, closing the space. You mean manipulating them? Lying to them? But that's your style, isn't it? A flicker of irritation crosses Carter's face before he covers it with another smirk. He claps Alex on the shoulder, his voice just low enough for only them to hear. You better start calculating how much you're willing to bleed for this, kid. Because I will keep coming. He walks away, leaving Alex standing there, fists clenched around their coffee cup. Montage of Carter ramping up the pressure. HOA complaint letter stacking up. Neighbors whispering when Alex walks by. Passive-aggressive comments at the grocery store. Cut to Alex's front yard. A bright orange notice of violation sign is nailed to a stake in the ground. Bold letters scream, "Final warning. Tear down structure or face legal action." Alex rips it off, storming inside and throwing it onto the kitchen table. "Do you want to play? Let's play." They grab their laptop, pulling up city zoning laws, Environmental Protection Acts, and HOA legal loopholes. Pages upon pages of regulations fill the screen. They start taking notes, highlighting, and cross-referencing. Every battle has a weapon. Alex is about to find theirs. Late night. Desk cluttered with legal paperwork, coffee cups, and printed HOA bylaws. A text from a neighbor, Jamie, pops up. He's been going door to door talking about a petition. People are scared. Just a heads up. Alex exhales, rubbing their face. Scared of what? A fucking greenhouse? But deep down, they know it's not the greenhouse. It's Carter. It's the way he's turned the HOA into his little empire. And now, Alex is the rebel. The next morning, Alex walks through the neighborhood, watching Carter in action. Carter at Mrs. Reynolds' door, clipboard in hand. She nods along, signing something. Carter sees Alex watching. He grins and gives a little wave. Cut to another house. Doug standing on the porch, arms crossed, nodding as Carter talks. Another signature. Alex pulls out their phone, secretly recording. Zooms in on Carter pointing at Alex's house, gesturing dramatically. Doug smirks, signs the paper. Alex clenches their jaw. They know what this is now. It's a goddamn pattern. Carter did this before, picked a target, squeezed them out, won. But this time, Alex isn't rolling over. They spend the next 3 days gathering every shred of evidence, emails, timestamps, photos, video recordings of Carter pressuring neighbors. They even find old HOA complaints from past residents. Different names, same strategy. Carter's playbook. One night, sitting in their car, scrolling through documents, Alex finds something big. A legal clause buried in the HOA contract. A loophole. A way to turn the tables. Oh, you're gonna hate this. The camera zooms in on the glowing laptop screen as Alex starts typing a formal complaint. The real fight is just beginning. Morning. Alex walks outside, expecting another violation notice. But today is different. There's a tow truck idling in the driveway. Next to it stands Carter, arms folded, smug as ever. Beside him, a uniformed code enforcement officer, clipboard in hand. What the hell is this? Oh, just a little compliance check. You see someone, his grin widens, filed a complaint about improper zoning. As it turns out, your little eyesore might just be sitting on unauthorized land usage. The tow truck driver gestures to the greenhouse. They told me to move it. Alex feels something snap inside. A slow-burning fire turns into a full-on inferno. You touch it, and I swear to God, this won't end well for you. The driver hesitates. The code enforcement officer coughs, uncomfortable. Well, the HOA doesn't have the authority to order a tow. But I do have the authority to fine them into the fucking ground if they don't comply. He leans in, dropping the fake friendliness completely. You keep pushing me, Alex, and I promise you, this thing will be gone. One way or another. Alex exhales slowly, controlling the rage bubbling up. Instead of shouting, they pull out their phone, recording everything. Say that again for the camera, Carter. I think the city inspector's office would love to hear how you're illegally enforcing fines. For the first time, Carter hesitates. The officer steps back, suddenly wanting nothing to do with this. The tow truck driver shrugs, muttering something about not getting involved. Carter glares, but knows he's been caught. Without another word, he stormed off, fuming. Alex lowers the phone, smirking. The war isn't over, but they just won this round. HOA meeting, a tense, crowded room. At the front, Carter stands behind a podium, flanked by Mrs. Reynolds and Doug. Across from him, Alex sits, arms crossed, a thick file of documents in their lap. This isn't just about one person. This is about our community, about keeping our neighborhood safe from those who refuse to follow the rules. Murmurs from the crowd. A few neighbors nod in agreement. Others shift uncomfortably. Jamie, Alex's closest ally, speaks up from the back. Bullshit. Alex's greenhouse isn't hurting anyone. Oh, really? You think when property values drop because of one selfish asshole, it's not hurting anyone? The crowd stirs. Mrs. Kowalski chimes in, shaking her head. I don't want to live next to a farm. Next thing you know, people will be raising chickens. Laughter from Carter's side. Alex leans forward, voice steady. Funny you mentioned that because I checked the property records. My home value hasn't dropped. Not 1 cent. In fact, they hold up a printed document, waving it. HOA fees went up last year under Carter's leadership, despite zero property depreciation. The room falls silent. A few people exchange looks. Jamie smirks. So where's all that extra HOA money going, Carter? Carter visibly stiffens. Doug leans in, whispering something in his ear. The cracks in their control are showing. But the division is clear. Some neighbors remain loyal to Carter, and others are starting to question. The battle lines are drawn. Midnight. A loud crash. Alex jolts awake. Alex stands frozen. A deep inhale, fists clenching. Jamie runs up, breathless. Holy shit. Who? Then they both see it, spray-painted on the greenhouse wall in huge, dripping red letters. Alex swallows the anger, but their hands shake. A chill crawls up their spine. This wasn't just about the HOA anymore. This was personal. Carter's power move. The next morning, an HOA letter is in the mailbox. A final notice. Your failure to comply has resulted in HOA-mandated action. The structure must be removed by the week's end, or legal proceedings will commence. The last straw. Alex grips the letter so tightly it crumples. Then they smile. Not in defeat. In calculated, ice-cold determination. They were waiting for this. They're ready. Cut to Alex pulling out a thick manila folder. Inside, legal paperwork. The smoking gun. The trap Carter walked into without realizing. The camera lingers on Alex's hands flipping through official documents, emails, city laws. A signed statement from a state environmental official. Alex exhales, then looks up, eyes burning with purpose. Your move, Carter. HOA meeting hall. A sterile room with folding chairs and fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Every seat is filled. The air is thick with anticipation. On one side, Carter sits smugly at the front table, flanked by Mrs. Reynolds and Doug, their expressions stone-cold and confident. On the other side, Alex sits alone, arms folded, their face unreadable. But there's a spark in their eyes, because they know something Carter doesn't. A murmur spreads as Carter stands, clearing his throat, before speaking into the cheap microphone. He takes his time, eyes sweeping the room, savoring the moment. All right, let's get this over with. Tonight, we're here to finalize the removal order for the unauthorized structure. He glances at Alex, smirking. Or, as some of us like to call it, the neighborhood eyesore. Polite chuckles are heard from his side of the room. Alex doesn't blink. The board has voted unanimously to enforce the removal of the greenhouse by Friday. Failure to comply will result in daily fines until the structure is gone and, if necessary, legal action. He pauses for dramatic effect, then shrugs. Nothing personal, Alex. Just how things work around here. He leans back, folding his arms. Doug grins. Mrs. Reynolds looks smug. Alex exhales slowly, then stands, adjusting their chair. The entire room watches them. The energy shifts. You're right, Carter. This is how things work around here. HOA makes a demand, people comply, and you keep tightening your grip, year after year. But I have just one question before we move forward. Alex reaches into their bag, pulling out a thick folder. Carter watches, intrigued but unimpressed. Who gave you the authority to override state law? Silence. Carter's smirk twitches. What the hell are you talking about? Alex flips open the folder, pulling out a stamped legal document. This lifts the paper high for the crowd to see a certified exemption from the State Environmental Protection Agency. Carter's smile vanishes. Murmurs spread like wildfire. Alex takes their time, savoring the moment. My greenhouse. It's protected under state environmental law. This document right here, legally registered 2 weeks ago, makes it untouchable. Gasps. Someone whispers, holy shit. Carter's fingers tighten around his papers. Alex leans forward, voice sharp as a knife. You try to take it down, you're breaking state law. Which means you're the one facing legal action now, Carter. The room erupts. Carter stares at Alex, his mask cracking. Doug shifts uncomfortably. Mrs. Reynolds' mouth opens, closes. No words come out. Oh, come on. This is ridiculous. This doesn't mean anything. It means everything. Alex reaches into the folder again, another set of papers. This time, they toss them onto the table in front of Carter. Pages scatter. See, I knew you'd try this. I knew you'd push until you thought I had no way out. But I did my homework, Carter. And you know what I found? They point to the papers. Financial reports. HOA budget statements from the last 5 years. And there's something really interesting about them. Doug leans over, flipping through the pages. His face goes pale. The numbers don't add up. What's it say? It says Carter's been mismanaging funds. Over $20,000 was unaccounted for. And guess what? The biggest spike in miscellaneous spending? Right after he started this fight with me. A wave of whispers. Someone in the back stands up. You mean our HOA fees? Where the hell did the money go, Carter? Carter stands so fast his chair topples over. His face is red. This is bullish. Those records are private. Oh, you mean these records? Waves the final document. The ones I got from publicly available tax filings? Another gasp from the crowd. Carter looks around, desperate. But his supporters are backing away. The room is turning against him. This isn't about a greenhouse. It never was. You've been using BS regulations to control this neighborhood for years. But this time, you picked the wrong fight. Silence. Carter looks at Doug, but Doug is already stepping back, shaking his head. Carter turns to Mrs. Reynolds. She won't meet his eyes. He's alone. The HOA board sits in stunned silence. The room buzzes with energy. Alex lets it sink in, then stands, addressing the room. Let's put it to a vote. Effective immediately. The removal order against my greenhouse is revoked. A chorus Ophius rings out. The decision is unanimous. Alex's greenhouse is safe. Carter slams his fist on the table. He knows it's over. He turns, ready to storm out, when Alex's final words stop him cold. Oh, and Carter? He pauses. Turns back, rage boiling. I just filed an official financial misconduct complaint. Expect a visit from the state auditors real soon. Dead silence. Then Jamie starts laughing. The crowd joins in. Carter storms out, fuming, shoving past people. His reign is over. Alex exhales, finally allowing themselves to smile. They fought. They won. The greenhouse stands tall. The dust hasn't even settled. The HOA meeting hall is still buzzing with voices, neighbors whispering, some laughing, others just sitting there stunned. Carter's gone, having stormed out like a kid who just lost a playground fight. But the wreckage he left behind? It's just beginning to catch fire. Alex stands near the front, feeling the shift in the air. They won, but winning isn't the end. It's just the start of the fallout. Jamie walks up, shaking their head, grinning. Well, that was beautifully fucking brutal. Yeah, well, Carter had it coming. Behind them, HOA board members huddle together, whispering. Doug looks pale as hell, flipping through the exposed financial reports like he might find a different answer if he reads them again. Then, the real fireworks begin. A group of pissed-off neighbors stand up, voices rising. You knew about this, didn't you? 20 grand just disappeared, and you didn't think to ask where the hell it went. Look, I just handled maintenance budgets, I didn't. We need to adjourn this meeting. The hell we do. We need a new HOA board. More people join in. The vote to remove the current HOA board is proposed right then and there. Alex watches, sipping their drink, as the motion passes overwhelmingly. Doug and Mrs. Reynolds are out. That's 2 birds with 1 stone. Yeah, didn't even have to swing. And just like that, the Carter era is over. The HOA, completely restructured. And in the middle of it all, the greenhouse stands untouched, victorious. A week later, the neighborhood has changed. Carter's house? Dark. The once pristine lawn? Starting to overgrow. He's still around, but silent. No more threats. No more smug lectures. Just a man who lost everything in the blink of an eye. Alex, in their backyard, tending to the greenhouse. A gentle breeze moves through the glass panels. The place looks alive. Healthy, thriving, just like the community. Jamie sits on a patio chair, flipping through their phone. You see this. Some local news blogs picked up the story. They're calling you a neighborhood hero. Please. I just wanted to grow some tomatoes. Well, those tomatoes just saved an entire fucking neighborhood. A beat. Alex watches the greenhouse, then looks around. The neighbors who once glared at them now wave as they pass. The division Carter created is dissolving. People talk again. Smile. Help each other. Alex exhales, the weight finally lifting from their chest. Then a voice from behind. Alex. Alex turns. Mrs. Kowalski, the woman who hated the greenhouse. Arms crossed, looking like she just swallowed a lemon. But there's no fire in her eyes now. Just something softer. I still don't like how it looks. Alex smirks. Noted. A pause. Then Mrs. Kowalski shifts, looking around as if making sure no one's listening. But those cucumbers you gave Jamie? They were fine. Alex bites back a grin. Jamie? Loses it, laughing loud enough to echo through the yard. Alex just nods. Glad to hear it, Mrs. Kowalski. She huffs, mutters something about checking on her hydrangeas, and walks off. But before she's out of earshot, maybe I take a few tomatoes if you have extra. Alex watches her go, shaking their head, chuckling. The neighborhood is healing. They all are. 2 months later, the annual City Sustainability Awards. A large auditorium, buzzing with excitement. Alex stands at the front of the room, a sleek plaque in their hands. It reads, Excellence in Urban Sustainability, awarded to Alex, last name, for outstanding community leadership in green initiatives. Applause fills the room. Cameras flash. But Alex, they're just taking it all in. A few months ago, they were fighting just to keep their garden alive. Now, they're standing here, being recognized for it. Life is weird. A city official steps up, shaking their hand. Your work has been incredible. We'd love to talk about expanding this project into other HOA communities. Alex blinks. Processing that. You're saying, turn this into a bigger movement? Absolutely. What have you done here? Other communities need this. Alex exhales, looking down at the award. They fought so hard just to keep this one greenhouse. Now, it could be so much more. They glance into the crowd. Jamie gives a thumbs up. Mrs. Kowalski is there too, sitting in the back, arms crossed like she's still unsure about all this, but she showed up. That means something. And then, in the very back, Carter, slumped in a chair, watching. His face, a mask of absolute fury. But he can't do a damn thing. He lost. Alex won. Alex just smiles, turning back to the city official, extending a hand. All right, let's talk. The camera zooms in on the award, the greenhouse reflected in the polished surface. The screen fades to black. The fight is over. The legacy begins.